I had a rough childhood. I wasn't that good at sports. I didn't have that many friends. I never got my acceptance letter to Hogwarts. And that affected me in very profound ways. But most tragically of all, both of my parents were lawyers. Thank you. It was rough. It was rough. It was rough because everybody expected me to be a lawyer as well. And that's not what I wanted to do. And so I hated whenever anyone just assumed that's what I would do. So very early on, I decided that never in a million years would I ever even consider becoming a lawyer. There's a fate worse than death for me, and for most people here, I guess. But I decided I'd never ever be a lawyer. So naturally, 15 years later, I'm applying for law school. I'm actually not even sure if I want to be a lawyer, but I figured, 3 years of the prime of my life, $60,000 to $100,000, got nothing better to do. So that's what I'm doing. My brother, though, was different. He knew, since he was 12, that he was going to be an architect. And today he is an architect. When I was 12, I knew that I was going to be headmaster at Hogwarts School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. And today, I'm disappointed. Now, when I look back on it, I always find that I associated those career decisions with college. I think most people do. We figure that's where I'm going to figure out my life. But that's not how I've come to see college. I always saw college as this magical place, this place where you know everything, this place where the world suddenly becomes crystal clear, a place where you never skip class. And that's just not true. None of that's true. Well, I have a new and revised theory about education and about learning. I believe that education should be equal parts discovering the world around you and discovering yourself within that world. And right now, on a very large scale, higher education is ignoring that second part, and it's diminishing the quality of our learning. And I claim if we continue to ignore that, then we ignore the main purpose of education, which is not simply to create the best students possible, but to create the best people possible. Wouldn't you agree? I think that we need something different. So I'm going to talk a little bit today about three things. I want to talk about college from a student's perspective and some problems that we encounter. Second, I want to talk about that concept of discovering yourself and the role I think higher education should play in that process. And third and finally, I want to talk about Taylor Swift. Because I can. It's my TED Talk. So first I want to tell you a little bit about what college is like. Just in case you haven't been, or you just haven't been in a while, here's how your first few semesters go. You have your math classes, science classes, history, literature, basically the same classes you took for 4 years in high school. Only this time they let you pay for them, which is the big draw of college. I took those classes for 12 years by the time I got to college, and I still had no clue what I wanted to be when I grew up. But I had to take those classes again anyway, over and over again. And a lot of students are like this. And it's frustrating. And to make matters worse, I was suddenly forced to choose one major from 200 majors that I knew next to nothing about. I mean, what's art therapy? Right? I don't know what that means. So it's scary and it's frustrating and I have no time to explore, and it reminds me of a 7th grade dance. If you've never been to a 7th grade dance, it's the single most awkward and painful event in human history. There's a room full of kids, on one side the girls, and they're smiling and they're laughing and they're looking at each other. They're waiting. And on the other side of the room, you have the boys, and we are terrified. And we're confused and we don't know what's going on, but somehow, by a magical cosmic force, the two groups converge. And I find myself dancing with a girl. And I don't know this girl, and I don't like this girl, and I don't want to dance with this girl. I use the term dancing loosely. But I'm already dancing with her, and the music started, so I have to dance with her until the song's over and I can get the heck out of there and go home. And that's what choosing a major's like. So it's a very scary process for people who don't know what they want to do. But there's another side of the coin, right? Some people come to college knowing exactly what they want to do, and there's still a problem for them. Because even if you know what you want to study and you know what you're passionate about, you still have to sit through hours of calculus and geology and art therapy before you can actually get there and learn something. Schools call these general education classes, and students call them a waste of time. And that's the frustrating part about it. I understand the value of a broad liberal arts education, and I support that. But at a certain point, it's a little bit silly, I guess. And I'll explain using a very well thought out and intelligent analogy based purely in scientific reasoning. So scientifically speaking, let's say I want to go out with this hot girl. And because we do things big here at TED, let's call her Taylor Swift. There's the Taylor Swift reference. So let's say I want to go on a date with Taylor Swift. And I'm not just going to ask her out, okay, because that would be too easy. First, I'm going to go on a date with someone that she just hates, because that's smart. Second, I'm going to go on a date with macroeconomics. And I can tell you right now, that date is not going to go well. After that, I'll go on a date with a pony and with a tree. And then after all of that, if I still like Taylor Swift, then I can go on a date with her. It sounds reasonable enough, right? And that's how a college curriculum works. Taylor Swift is what you want to study. It's what you're passionate about. And everything else, macroeconomics, the pony, that stuff, the general education classes, that just gets in the way. And you can't actually study what you want to. And that sounds silly, but that's how higher education does things. It doesn't fully equip you with the ability to follow your passions. See, there's a disconnect in higher education between what we as students require to develop as people and what higher education is offering now. What we need is something deeper. We need something more substantial than that, something more than test scores and national rankings to tell us the quality of learning and of dreaming, more importantly, that's going on here. And how does that start? As Daniel Pullen said earlier, it starts with a movement, like this. It starts with a focus and with a promise to recognize that every student, every person out there has a dream. And it might not be concrete, it might not have a job description, but that's still a dream. And it should be the sacred responsibility of our higher education systems to bring us closer to our dreams. And maybe, just maybe, we won't all be doomed to go to law school. Thank you.